humans. We proudly christen this era the Anthropocene, the age of man. We erect skyscrapers, bend the will of rivers, and convince ourselves we are the absolute apex of evolution. In our cognitive arrogance, we believe that if humanity vanished tomorrow, Earth would fall into eternal ruin. But science tells a far more brutal story. If our species evaporated from the face of the Earth right now, the blue planet would need less than 50 years to scrub away our footprints. Concrete would crumble, forests would swallow our metropolises, the atmosphere would purge itself, and life would go on, perhaps even brighter without us. However, let's flip the script. Imagine if fungi, those silent, damp organisms we often ignore or fear, suddenly disappeared from the surface of the planet. Not 50 years. In less than 3 months, Earth's entire life support system would suffer a catastrophic collapse, a silent apocalypse far more terrifying than any nuclear war. Because fungi are not merely plants, they are nature's exclusive recycling machines, the gatekeepers of the carbon cycle. If they cease to function, death is no longer the beginning of new life. It is simply the end. Picture a world without decay. Animal corpses, fallen leaves, and dead timber would never rot. They would pile up, layer upon layer, rising like dry, skeletal skyscrapers. Primeval forests would choke on their own dead. Precious nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus would be locked away forever within the corpses, turning fertile land into a barren wasteland where life cannot germinate. Earth would rapidly transform into a colossal graveyard, a biological dead end. Here is the naked truth. We look arrogantly to the stars, but we have forgotten the very foundation that keeps this biological machine running. In the grand scheme of evolution, humans are just loud, short-term guests. The true landlords of this house, the silent architects holding the keys to life and death, are right beneath our feet. And to understand their absolute power, we must leave the world of light and begin our descent into the underground. When you walk through an old-growth forest, a sense of peace often invades the mind. You see trees standing independently, reaching for the sun, solitary individuals enjoying the silence. But this is a magnificent illusion. If our eyes could strip away the soil, peeling back the facade of the surface world, you would witness a completely different reality. Beneath every step you take is not lifeless dirt, but thousands of kilometers of a dense biological network. A white matrix woven by fungal threads called mycelium. And in this deep realm, the romantic concept of symbiosis does not exist. Here, there is only the cold logic of a ruthless natural economy. This is the Wood Wide Web, a subterranean network connecting the roots of billions of trees. But make no mistake, this is not a charity. This is a global stock exchange operating 24/7. Fungi provide essential minerals like nitrogen and phosphorus that trees cannot access. In exchange, trees must pay a tax in carbon, the sugar from photosynthesis. This exchange rate is not fixed. It fluctuates in real time based on supply and demand. If an old or sickly tree cannot pay the required carbon tax, the fungal network will not hesitate to execute a cruel verdict: cut off the nutrient supply. That tree is isolated and left to slowly die, yielding its resources to more profitable partners. In the fungal world, there is no compassion, only the optimization of resources. But this network transports more than just food. It transports information, a total surveillance system spanning continents. Imagine a tree at the forest edge under attack by pests. Instantly, it fires off chemical warning signals, biological data packets, rushing along the high-speed fungal lines. Other trees, miles away, having never seen the enemy, receive the intelligence. They begin secreting toxic tannins to defend themselves, preparing for a war that hasn't arrived yet. This complex telecommunication system was perfected by fungi 450 million years ago, long before humans learned to light signal fires, and eons before we congratulated ourselves on inventing the internet. We have merely reinvented a crude version of what they have operated since the dawn of time. Yet, the manipulation of the fungal kingdom does not stop at trade or news. When the usual rules no longer serve survival, they are ready to break the final boundary, the autonomy of other beings. The most horrifying evidence of this power lies in Ophiocordyceps. When a spore invades an ant, it doesn't attack the brain immediately. That would be too crude. Instead, the fungus infiltrates the muscle fibers, the joints, physically severing the connection between the host's brain and its limbs. The ant remains fully conscious. It is aware of everything, but its body no longer obeys its commands. It is a prisoner in its own flesh, a terrifying biological locked-in syndrome. Now, the fungus pulls the strings like a puppeteer. It forces the ant to leave the colony, climb a branch to the exact humidity and temperature ideal for fungal growth. There, the ant is forced to perform the final act of its life, biting down hard on a leaf vein. A death grip that cannot be broken. The ant dies, becoming a launch pad for the fungus to burst from its head and rain spores upon the world below. This is nature's most chilling reminder. Free will is a fragile concept, easily overridden by a few milligrams of chemistry. But controlling a single ant is a small game. The true ambition of the fungal kingdom is far greater, to control the scale and time of this entire planet. If you think the blue whale is the largest creature to ever exist, or the sequoias are nature's greatest giants, you are mistaken. In the Miller National Forest in Oregon, an entity has silently existed for 20,400 years. It was there before Rome fell, it was breathing when Jesus was born, and it is expanding as you listen to this. It is Armillaria ostoyi, the honey fungus. To the naked eye, they are just scattered clusters of mushrooms. But that is a visual lie. Beneath the humus, they all belong to a single body, a massive biomass network weighing hundreds of tons, covering 9 square kilometers, larger than 1,600 soccer fields combined. When you walk in that forest, you are not walking through it. You are walking inside the entrails of a single organism, a sleeping giant, swallowing roots and digesting the forest from below. It is proof of how life, when unbound by the shape of an animal, can reach grotesque proportions. But the terror lies not in physical size, but in the architecture of intelligence. If you place an image of the mycelium network next to a map of neurons in the human brain and beside a model of the cosmic web of dark matter, the resemblance is haunting. It is a perfect geometric design repeated from the microscopic to the macroscopic. Fungi don't have brains because they are the brain. Earth is not just rock, it is wrapped in a thick cognitive layer. Do not underestimate this brainless intelligence. In a famous experiment, Japanese scientists released slime mold onto a map of Tokyo, with food sources placed at major train stations. The result was a slap in the face to human intellect. In just a few hours, the slime mold sketched a network connecting the food points. When compared, the fungal network was nearly identical, even more optimized than the Tokyo subway system that top engineers took decades to plan. We spent centuries learning urban planning. Fungi did it in an afternoon using pure survival instinct. This is a non-human intelligence, more efficient, more durable, and utterly indifferent to our existence. In fact, they ruled this place long before the first mammal drew breath. Rewind 400 million years to the Devonian period. Earth was an alien planet. There were no trees. Dominating the horizon were prototaxites, giant fungal spires towering 8 meters high, standing like ancient watchtowers in a low world of moss and ferns. They were the primordial architects of the biosphere. We, the humans, are just latecomers, short-term tenants, living off the ecosystem that fungi built and permitted to exist. We think we are exploiting nature. But in the long, cold view of geology, perhaps we are just a crop that the fungi are patiently cultivating. Look at your hand. Feel the rhythm beating in your chest. We mistake this body for private property, an inviolable temple of the ego. But under the clinical lens of biology, the truth is far starker. You are just a temporary assembly of matter. Every atom of carbon in your bones, every gram of nitrogen in your muscles, every molecule of phosphorus in your DNA, none of it belongs to you. They are loans from the soil, accumulated over millions of meals, borrowed from the massive nutrient cycle that fungi engineered. And like every debt in this universe, one day it must be repaid with interest. When the final breath fades, when human consciousness dissolves into the void, it is not the end of matter, but a transfer of power. At this moment, mycelium, the great dismantlers, take over. They do not see a human tragedy. They see opportunity. They see resources. With absolute precision, they will dismantle every chemical bond, break down every complex protein chain you spent a lifetime building. We view mold and decay with primal fear because they remind us of death. But in the cosmic logic, decomposition is construction. Without this ruthless dismantling, the building blocks of life would be locked forever in tombs, and new life would never have the chance to rise. Individual death is the fuel for the system's immortality. So, find serenity in this truth. You will never truly vanish. You will be recycled, circulated, becoming part of an ancient oak, a carpet of moss, of life everlasting. But until that moment comes, remember our true place. We walk the earth as conquerors, arrogantly building empires of concrete. But beneath every step, in the damp darkness, billions of fungal threads are waiting patiently. They are in no hurry. They do not need to fight. Because in the end, everything, from the tallest ancient trees to the greatest human civilizations, will belong to them.